And we are live. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean, and today we have with us Chris Jones, because we all know the Bo knows here. So he is with us. Chris, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast.
Oh, my pleasure, Sean. How are you this evening, by the way?
Stupendous as always. The snow in the Great White North has started to melt. We only have probably a foot and a half at this point. We don't have 2 feet of snow.
I'm going to go back a little bit into Canada. Take off to the Great White North. Bob and Doug McKenzie in the 70s?
I was born in 76, so we'll go with that.
Oh, okay. I'm too old now.
Well, look, it's not old, it's seasoned.
That's a better way. I am seasoned.
You're a seasoned vet at all this.
I'm originally from Plattsburgh, New York. And I lived near, not too far from Canada. And in the 70s, Bob and Doug McKenzie were all the rage, and Rush, the rock band, and all that. And so.
What you talking about? The Strange Brew, Bob, the McKenzie brothers, Strange Brew.
Yes, that's those guys.
I remember that. That was they were originally SC. Was it SCTV?
I think so.
Yeah. What? Because that's. People always think like John Candy started with SNL. He was never SNL. He was always. He was SCTV, which was kind of the Chicago version and the Canadian version of SNL.
Yeah.
Which,
hey, while we're talking,
yes,
I want to pull you up on my little phone here because I'm going to share it over to my profile page on Facebook if I can do that.
Okay. Herb says, hey, the Podfather is listening to us.
Hi, Podfather. I love that term, by the way.
Well, he coined it. I only stole it from him. I firmly believe that there is no more original ideas. We're all just stealing from each other at this point.
Yeah, probably so, yeah.
So I stole that one from him. But yeah, you're live. Actually, you're on my pages. You're on YouTube right now. We're across the spectrum. But as everyone can see, Chris is known as the Bo that knows. As you see, he always wears a bow tie. You've kind of become a local podcast celebrity here because you've been on his show, you've been on DW's show, you've been on my show. What other shows have you been on lately?
Well, I don't know if you know a guy out in Buffalo. His name is Mike DeChocho, Mic'd Up.
Okay. I don't know him offhand, no.
I interviewed him. I have not any others recently, to be honest with you. I've interviewed a lot of people, some business people, and did a massage therapist once, interviewed her. And I made a podcast out of that.
Listen, so how do you interview a massage therapist? Like, was this in person?
We told her story.
Oh, okay.
She actually became a client, really. And she told her story. I made that into a podcast. And she did most of the talking. I wasn't even in it. Well, my voice was, but I wasn't. So that was fun.
Now, that's another thing. So you were a local radio celebrity. Let's call it what it is. And now, how many years did you do radio?
13 total.
And that was out of the Glens Falls area, or was that down here in Albany?
No, not Albany. Plattsburgh to start, Burlington, Vermont, Ticonderoga for brief, and then Glens Falls for quite a while.
So you just figured if it could stay winter for 10 months out of the year, forcing people into their homes, they were going to listen to you.
Exactly right.
Because
I zigzagged across Lake Champlain. Notice how that worked. I went from Plattsburgh to Burlington to Ty, and then down the road a bit.
Okay, so.
Oh, I see what Herb's asking.
Yes. So, do you know this whole story? Did he tell you this story?
About what? The Green Lantern movie?
About him. I don't even. So, I'll get your opinion on Green Lantern movie, and then I'll explain to you why this comes up every time.
My opinion.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you this.
What does the Bo know about Green Lantern?
Green Lantern was one of my. If I was going to pick, I love Superman, Batman. If I'm going to pick a DC person that I kind of like, and more than the rest, I'll pick Green Lantern just because of what he's about.
Right.
And the first, and the whole, I don't know, the whole Green Lantern Corps and all of that, and Herb will disagree, and I don't care. No, I like Herb. I had a fun time being on Herb's show, by the way. That was the best. Now he's going to come on my show at some point. Anyway, Hal Jordan. That's the Green Lantern I first
Right.
liked. Okay, and the other ones are awesome. Who's the black gentleman there?
That's John. That's Stewart. Jon Stewart.
In the cartoons, I loved that guy. He was great. But in the movie, Ryan Reynolds, and Herb's going to cringe on this one. I thought he did a halfway decent job. The movie
See?
tanked. The movie tanked. Didn't do well, and come to find out that Ryan really was more suited for like Deadpool and that kind of role. But I thought he did a decent job. And in the end, the whole end scene where he got angry and the jets in space and the whole bit there defending, I thought, it was a decent storyline. Maybe a different actor could have played Green Lantern, but
Fine.
the Green Lantern story was what I liked.
See, these are this. So this has been an entire running conversation for going on 10 years almost between DW and I, where he hates the movie. Everything about the movie he can't stand.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly like, dude, it's not a bad movie. My kids like the movie. And you know what and you bring it up where he grabs, all of a sudden he's doing the constructs and he's got the fighter jets. Those are all very Hal Jordan type things. You have references to Wayne Enterprises in that movie.
Yeah. Yes.
You have, and the best part was we got the original Sinestro before he turns to the yellow.
Yes.
We get Sinestro before he goes to the yellow. Before then, and we and we get Sinestro who's out there saying, "Hey, look, there might be an even better way to do this. We can go ahead and how about we just scare the living crap out of them?" And you have the Guardian saying, "No, we're not going this route." The fact that we got that much cosmic out of it, and we were like, if anything, we have Kilowog. I love seeing Kilowog beating the snot out of Hal. And even you bring up a great point.
Exercises, right? Yeah.
Right. And you bring up a great point when you say Hal Jordan is who they use. There was actually a entire situation where they said some of the issues they ran into with the movie wasn't anything more than kids who grew up with the cartoon series didn't know that there was a white Green Lantern. They thought it was always Jon Stewart, that he was a black guy. They didn't even know that this was a thing. So that was a whole entire.
I watched a lot of that Justice League stuff, and I loved it. I loved the whole Jon Stewart thing. He was good. He was a Marine. But by the way, I have to ask you: you were in the service?
I did 20 years in the Marine Corps. That's why I like Jon Stewart. Yes.
I have a Paris Island story, by the way.
Well, I have to comment here so you see Ken's comment. Ken is my best friend.
Okay.
I drug Ken at the midnight showing down here at Colony Center to watch that movie.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah. So I enjoyed it. I had a great time with it. So
okay,
we'll leave that at that.
Glad, I'm glad, Sean, that we're in agreement on this movie, because I could watch it again. I mean, I could go find it somewhere now and watch it tonight. I mean, maybe I will. I don't know.
I think you should. Actually, matter of fact, DW and I had this conversation, and maybe if I can get Ken to leave his house and we can get you to come down, maybe the four of us should do the movie watch together, because
we should mostly do that. Was there a scene in that movie where it was very much like Superman, where he floated down onto a balcony?
Yes.
They must have copied that from Superman.
Probably. I mean, come on.
Green Lantern can fly, right?
Yeah, he uses his ring. It gives him the shield around his body. He can operate it in outer space.
I can't see it from here. I got a DC poster which has all of them. It's got Superman on one side, Green Lantern.
Well,
Wonder Woman, Batman, Aquaman, and who's Cyborg?
Cyborg has become the one character that they crowbar into everything. If it is DC related, they find a way to crowbar Cyborg in it, whether it's the animated stuff, the Doom Patrol, he's in that. If you name it, they crowbar him into everything as some form of justification of something, and I don't get it. I like the character, but I never felt he was too strong. Now you're into what I really love. So who's your doctor?
David Tennant.
So I love Tenet, and I think Tenet to me was the darkest of all the Doctors.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what got me on 10? I didn't start watching Doctor Who until about 2010. No.
The reboot?
Yes. I didn't. I mean, we watched the classic Doctors growing up.
Right.
My father had it on I was on PBS at the time, on the network back in like the 70s, 80s. Tom Baker and
Right.
all that. I mean, that's all good, but it was hard to watch for me. It actually was at that point. Now it's a little easier, but I started with Tennant. I watched a couple episodes of that. No, you got to start over. You got to go with Eccleston. You got to start. So I did. Started to watch. I watched all of the Eccleston stuff right up, and I got to like the guy, and he only had one season to
Right.
quit. I guess he got that.
What an asshole. You just quit on us.
Yeah, well, he didn't agree with the staff or some crap.
Yeah.
Audio books now.
Well, he was a pretty fairly good actor, like a bigger actor when he did that, and it was just a TV series.
Yeah. Well, that might be why. Maybe he got too big for his britches or something. I don't know. But he was a good actor. I was sad to see him go, but that regeneration scene with Rose was pretty good.
See, I love Rose.
Oh yeah. And then the whole Tennant thing, and what really got me with Tennant was the season 4 theme music. Okay, because there was never a better Doctor Who theme since Capaldi's.
Really?
Capaldi's theme was like fingernails on a chalkboard. It was a complete shit fest.
Oh, I love it.
I know who I like. It wore on me after a while when Tennant changed into Matt Smith.
See, I like Matt Smith.
You're not Ginger. I'm a girl. Oh, not yet. Not for a couple more.
I like Matt Smith. And did you know he's now living down in D.C.? Did you know Matthew Dowsmith that lived locally, the artist?
I heard the name. Don't know him.
So Matthew Dowsmith, who was a local comic book artist, and he's done a bunch of stuff, used to draw Matthew Smith. And I ran into him one day at Albany Comic Con. We were talking, and he was just telling me how the English thought it was the funniest thing in the world that Matthew Smith was being drawn by Matthew Dowsmith.
That's cool.
They just thought it was the greatest thing.
Cool.
See, I love another Whovian. I got my kids into it. My one son, his favorite, and from a kid standpoint, I have to agree this has got to be one of the most kid episodes is dinosaurs on a spaceship.
Can't recall that one specifically. Give me a synopsis.
So it's exactly that. That's a Matthew Dowsmith where he's got River with him. He's got Cleopatra. He's got a big game hunter, and they go up to this spaceship. And while they're up on the spaceship, they realize that there's actually dinosaurs on this spaceship.
Oh, okay. All right. I remember.
Now, you know the one I'm talking about? Yeah. And my one son, he's now 11. He probably watched that one first time he was like 8 or 9 years old. Loved every bit of that one. Thought it was the best episode out there, and just thought it was the coolest thing. And he fell in love with Doctor Who. But I've got 2 different cookie jars. I've had different coffee cups. Look at you. You put the glasses on your camera.
No, something went whack on my camera.
There's your
camera.
Full HD. I got full HD on it. Did you know that? I got it.
Look. So if any of my Marine buddies if Ken's still listening, we had a guy who worked with us.
Okay.
And this is back 2012. Real big guy from like Mississippi or something like that. So he gets a 4G phone with the 4K camera in it.
Wow.
This was like one of the first ones to come out. Yeah. And I'll never forget this guy standing on the steps to our work and going, "Dude, you got to see this." I'm like, "What is it, Marine?" He goes, "Look, Gunny, my camera. It's got such a clear picture to it. It's like you're really there." I'm like, "Son, we're standing outside looking at this. Why would I look at your camera? Obviously it's there." He's like, "No, it's better on my camera." He swore that everything looked better on his camera than in real life.
Wow. That's different.
He was special. He was definitely special. So you said you had a Paris Island story. What's your Paris Island story for me?
I'm going to give you full disclosure. I'm not sure I've ever told this on any podcast or any video or anything anywhere. I graduated from high school in '77. Okay,
I was one.
The year of Saturday Night Fever, the Bee Gees, and I had hair to prove it. I looked like Barry Gibb. I really with the hair.
We just watched that documentary.
I had that picture somewhere. I don't have it in front of me. I could pull it up on the phone. But anyway, my father was 20 years Air Force. He retired at Plattsburgh Air Force Base. And I decided I was going to one-up him and join the Marine Corps. Okay. So I end up as a PFC, private first class, down in Paris Island. Long story, I ended up being discharged due to, what'd they say, unsuitable for military service.
Failure to adapt, maybe. Probably heard that term.
Well, for one thing, I'm left-handed, and the rifles, bang, bang, bang. Oh my God! And when I can't do it right-handed. They're all built for right-handed people. It seems like. Are there left-handed guns like that?
There are left-handed rifles, but none of the ones in the service are. They're bought in such bulk.
What if you're left-handed?
You just are going to have brass all over you on a regular basis. Hot brass is going to be your friend.
Hot brass. Is that like a pissed off general?
It could be another term. It could be a page somewhere, but hot brass. It could be an Instagram page.
Yeah, that could be. So one of the stories is that when I was having trouble doing that.
Did I lose? This isn't on your end. This is on my end. Stand by, because I can't hear you. Something happened to my headphones.
Yeah, I heard some.
Let's try this. There we go. Yep, that was on my end.
Okay,
I bumped a wire. So you're catching hot brass.
Yeah, I'm catching hot brass, and I was complaining a little about it, and the drill sergeant said, get down and give me 20. He yelled it. You know how they yell.
Oh yeah,
R. Lee Ermey. You like R. Lee Ermey, the actor? Yeah, he yelled just like that. So I got down. It was in sand. Fire ants everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
The Paris Island fire ants. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Oh, more than I would like to be.
And I kept doing this, and I'm like, Private, give me 20 more now. Give me 40. Something like that. And I just said, no, I ended up.
You were done.
I was done. And that was pretty much the end at that point. I went back to Plattsburgh and started a career in radio.
Well, that's and those of you that are listening and have no idea about Plattsburgh. Plattsburgh was a big military town at that time. That was part of the whole missile defense system for the country.
And Strategic Air Command.
Yep, Strategic Air Command, and it got closed during the BRAC, Base Relocation and Closure Act,
in the 90s. And
one of my good buddies that lives up that way, he took me over there when I was still recruiting, and everything for houses. It's like all the base housing is like right
residential now.
Yeah, it's all residential.
I've been on it. I drove through it not too long ago, actually. The airport turned into the Clinton County Airport. It's a big commercial airport now. So,
yeah, but it's a beautiful area. Like, it's a good golf swing to Canada.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Well, I grew up there, went to high school and actually some college there, and started radio there. And,
so you went to Plattsburgh University?
PSU, yeah, Plattsburgh State. I didn't graduate. Went a couple of years. Did some media.
I'm hearing a theme.
What?
Well, you didn't finish in the Marine Corps. You didn't finish.
Oh, you're making okay.
I'm sorry.
I could just shut this off. I won't.
But that's why
you're right. I didn't. I quit the Marines. Well, they quit me.
Well, that's why you're the bow that knows, because you've done a little bit of everything.
I have done a little bit of everything.
I keep you as the bow that knows.
Want me to tie the bow tie live on camera?
Hold on. That's a legit bow tie. That's not like a clip-on?
No, see? Look. See that? That's not a clip-on.
They,
I usually need a mirror to do it, but and the camera will serve
I,
as the mirror. So you do that, and you make it tight, and you do this.
I'm watching.
See, I'm in reverse here because of the camera or something here. So I do that. Then you hold that, and you got this big other piece here now.
So it's just like tying a regular tie.
Kind of, sort of. And you do. It's going to be sloppier this time for some reason, I think.
Look,
Yeah, see, it's off center.
it's still better than any bow tie I've ever tied since I've never tied one.
Yeah. Now I'm going to have to go like this because I can't do it right now.
Well, then will you still have your superpowers without having your bow tie tied?
Big time.
I mean, because Samson had his hair, Green Lantern has his ring. If you don't have your bow tie, are we on the same page?
We are. I'm going to try and tie it as we're talking.
Fair enough. Well, see, it's funny, like, so you probably see people with like clip-on bow ties and stuff like that. It drives you
All the time.
bonkers.
I have a couple of clip-ons, and sometimes they're convenient when you want to look perfect. Okay. I mean, but a bow tie that's tied manually has a personality. A clip-on does not because it's too perfect.
See, I feel that when I see people with like regular neckties,
Mhm.
they tie a half Windsor.
Oh yeah.
It drives me absolutely bonkers when I see a half Windsor. And it's a Marine Corps thing. Going back to it, it's 100% a Marine Corps thing. When I see a half Windsor, I'm like, you almost made it. You almost got the tie to where it needed to be. And anytime you see a half Windsor, it always also looks like they've tied it so tight that at any minute they're going to cut off circulation.
Yeah. Back when I sold cars for a while. Did I tell you that too?
Wait a sec. So I'm up to 3 careers right now. I'm up to 3.
Okay.
I've got
after the radio, I went into sales.
Okay.
I sold electronics. Worked at Radio Shack when they existed. For a long time, I had fun with that. I'll tell you a Radio Shack story too. This was Christmas. This is appropriate because it was like
yes.
Christmas Eve. Well, I'm still trying to tie this thing.
It's paused you.
It was a busy Christmas Eve. It's up in Queensbury, New York. In fact, the sign is still there. The store has been closed, and it was busy. And some guy came in and wanted to return something, a little part like a capacitor. You know, a Radio Shack.
Oh yeah.
And he kept getting in the manager's face, and the manager said, "I'll be with you in a minute, sir. I'll be with you in a minute." And he goes, "I want service now." Finally, the manager, whose name was Chuck, rest in peace, Chuck. He said, "And we're not on TV, are we?" He said, "Get the fuck out of my store now," and he did. The guy like, and he left. This isn't very professional, is it?
Look, this is the Above the Bar podcast for a reason. We're sitting above the bar. It's bar talk. It's a bar conversation. You know, learning.
This guy would, at the end of his shift, he was the manager. He'd close up, do all the drawer and the money and all that, and then he would crack a Budweiser when he closed the door and locked it, drink it on the way to his car. Still drinking it, start the car, drive down the road, still drinking it.
You gotta have road soda, a little road soda.
Well, and then I had another manager do the same thing. I worked at a place called Rex TV and Appliance back in like 15 years ago. I mean, these guys didn't know each other, but the same exact thing. Crack a Budweiser.
Maybe it must have been a thing for the area.
I think so.
Now, as everybody can see with the ticker going across here, the Bo knows this. We have Chris Jones with us. He is the Bo. He has to fix his bow tie, but he is the Bo. So if you have questions for the Bo, I can see your questions. I'll ask the question for you. I'll put it up there for him. We can find out how much the Bo knows at any given time.
Ask me and I'll answer it.
You know,
I don't know if what I actually see. I'm doing this in reverse because of this camera.
You're like this is the one thing you're like, hey, look, I'll show you how to do this.
Yeah, I bragged about it and screwed it up. All right, I'm human too, like you, and this looks like a slob job. I think I'm
Uh, un- Understand that I promise you, anybody else who's watching this or listening has not a clue on God's green earth how they are tying a bow tie. The Marines that are listening, they'll get the full Windsor. One of my buddies that you serve with, Jason McVeigh, he said full Windsor all the way because it makes a world of difference.
Yeah.
But trust me, has little to no doubt in your mind that
Listen,
the rest of them don't have a clue.
Since I didn't make it through the service, I wanted to extend my heartfelt thanks to all the military, anybody who served, is serving, or did serve, especially you, Sean, with 20 years. I appreciate the service to the country. And I don't know who you voted for politically, but I know the current president does support the military in a great way. But me personally, I was an Air Force brat. I lived in Turkey for a while.
Really?
I can count to 10 in Turkish.
All right, go ahead. Bo knows how to count to 10 in Turkish. Let's hear it.
There's another story that goes with that too. Bir, iki, üç, dört, beş, altı, yedi, sekiz, dokuz, on, 10.
Wait, I swear to you, here's what I heard in that was beer,
Yeah, that's number one.
Dos Equis, and Yeti. Did I hear those words correctly? I heard the word beer, Dos, and Seki, and
Yeti. I think it's Yeti. Yeah, Yedi or Y something. I don't know. I'd have to look it up now.
beer. So the
beer part's good. I wish I had one.
Well, this is actually so this right here is
Star Trek.
What's that?
Is that a Federation communicator symbol?
No, but now that you say it, I see it. And if Ken realizes it, he'll say the same thing. He's a big Star Trek guy. But so this is my stepmother's recipe. We call it Nanny's hot apple pie.
Right.
So it's pure grain alcohol, cinnamon, apple juice, and a cinnamon stick sitting in the bottom of the bottle.
Jesus.
This was one of our COVID recipes that we came up with.
Wow, cool.
And we made my so for years I always thought the recipe was my father's recipe,
right,
for Kahlua. And I said to my mother, I was like, hey, my stepmother sent me Dad's recipe for Kahlua. And my mother quickly corrected me and was like, that is not your father's recipe. It was her best friend when I was growing up, Miss Jackie's recipe that she got from her mother. So like it's this long-standing recipe, but it's pure grain alcohol,
right,
instant coffee, and a bunch of other stuff. If it don't put hair on your chest, it'll take paint off a car.
Wow.
Oh, it is definitely it's one of those kind of things, and this has the same problem. Mm-hmm. So if you were able to sit at the bar with me today, we'd sit here and you drink it and you go, oh, this is fine. It's no big deal. Mm-hmm. And then next thing you know, it creeps right up on you because there's so much cinnamon and so much apple in it that when it creeps up on you, you're like, I can smell the colors right now. Yeah. So friend of mine, Kitty, who's watching, she said, didn't we have that for a Thanksgiving about 1,000 years ago? And the answer is yes. We did have that for a Thanksgiving about 1,000 years ago. And it will definitely do you. It'll do you right.
Wow. I used to drink strawberry daiquiris all the time.
See, I don't have a problem with anything like these whole, like, this drink has to be, is way more manlier than the other.
Well, this is when I was in college back in Plattsburgh now. I was, 19? After I had done with the Paris Island fire ants thing.
I just had a guy on last week. We had Don Smythe from Phoenix Shaving on.
Right.
And he lived in Costa Rica for about 4 years. Mm-hmm. And he had to come up with a bug spray for the sand fleas. Now, yeah. And I told him, I was like, those creatures fly around with their own personal IV bag to take you out with.
I'm sure.
Oh, so now you got into radio. You did that for 13 years. What was it like? So now you've done podcasts and you've done radio. What, you're the only person I know, Chris, that's done both. You've done some podcasts, you've done some radio. What's the big difference?
Radio, you're sitting in a studio, unless you're doing internet radio, which is another thing. But you're sitting in a studio, and you're coordinating everything. You're coordinating if you're the DJ, you're coordinating music and news and the commercials, of course. And when I did it, we had cart machines.
What is that?
Oh, it looks like an 8-track tape, only it goes into a player and it plays a commercial or
Okay.
or something like that. It's very similar to an 8-track tape. In fact, the tape is kind of like that. But you're coordinating everything, and you I don't know, you just bring it all together. Podcasting is easier, honestly, because you're not
Told you, Herb.
all that stuff. It's just you talking, or you have a guest maybe, and they're talking, and you're all interviewing, and that's a different thing. Are you asking me to compare which is easier? Which is
Well,
better?
not which is easier. I was more curious, like when doing one and doing the other. Yeah, I guess easier is one way of looking at it, but what was the contrast in the two? Because I think all of us that do podcasts think somehow we could walk into and do radio. That like, I do my own podcast. I'll go right in there into the studios. I'll go.
It's an easier transition to go from radio to podcasting than it is from podcasting to radio, I would think. If you've never done radio,
No, never.
Certainly you got the voice and you got a personality, but you got to, if you're doing, it depends on if you're doing talk radio or DJ type of radio, which if you're doing talk radio, it's very similar. Only with podcasting, you're not worrying about timing up to a news break at the top of the hour or something like that. With podcasting, we're just talking and having fun and saying fuck and all that.
Is that not the great? Like, it's such a great word. It's such a
swearing relieves stress. Did you know? My daughter says this. Swearing relieves stress.
Now, how old's your daughter?
32.
Okay, so I was make sure like you weren't like.
No, she's not a teenager. No, she's got some. She's an artist, very good one. In fact, she did cover art. I wish I had. Wait a second. I want to show you some cover art. I wrote a short story, by the way.
Okay, I always love a good story. Always enjoy a good story.
I want to read it here because it's not out yet, but it's a sci-fi short story.
Okay,
and it's
that's the one you wrote. Is that what you're talking about?
I wrote it, and the whole thing is that it's I'm a Star Trek guy. If we're gonna compare, I know Herb is a Star Wars guy. I know he is, and I don't know what's your preference, Star Trek or Star Wars?
So, growing up, I was a Star Wars guy because we had the original 3,
really?
and I never understood the infatuation with the Captain Kirk and all that. It never made any sense to me until Next Generation came around.
Yeah,
and I would watch a little bit of that, but I really got into Deep Space Nine.
Oh, that was, yeah.
And now all the other, and this is a longer version of all this. So now all the other movies come around, and I didn't mind the prequels. I didn't mind the prequels at all. I know some people didn't like the characters and this and the other.
Thoughts on that,
but now the most recent 3 are garbage. They are the worst of the worst. They have nothing to do with Star Wars. It was everything about it was we're going to crowbar in ideas. And the only reason they made money is because we all have like the kid inside of us. The first time we saw Ewoks or the first time that you saw, Han in the Frozen Han. And we wanted to see this recreated. That's the only reason they made any money is we all prayed that it's.
I haven't seen all of them. So I don't know.
Save your money. Save your money. It is not. Let me tell you right now what they're all about. They're about somebody who has nothing to do with the story and somebody else who has even less to do with the story, finding each other and doing absolutely nothing. It was
make money. They're just doing it for money.
It was all money. But I will turn around and say this. If you have not watched the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, go watch it. The Mandalorian is the most Star Wars thing out there. Okay. I finally last night caught up on the season finale of season 2 of The Mandalorian, and I didn't have the dust in my eyes. Nobody was cutting onions like everybody thought.
How I haven't seen it, to be honest.
It's amazing.
Okay, So you recommend it. Where can I watch it?
It's a Disney Plus thing.
Okay.
Uh,
So it's not on Netflix or anything. It's okay.
No, it's got to have the Disney Plus app. But I mean, you haven't watched it. I so
Since
like
you are highly recommending it, and a
oh,
lot of people I see it, I just haven't. I don't know. Some things I just miss.
it is so good. And like I said, it's the most Star Wars thing. I even picked up on stuff, comments that are made in the last episode that I was like, oh, oh, wait a sec. But I thought he always like just different things. And I don't want to, if you haven't watched it, I will give you a little, I'll give you time because God, like the things
All
that
right.
went down in that are just, they're the most Star Wars things that you've seen.
I feel like
The,
I missed something by not seeing it. Then I'll check it
oh,
out. I'll check it
it,
out.
the best thing Disney could do is take the other three movies, pay whatever they have to pay to have everyone return any DVDs, digital copies, wipe them off the face of the earth so that they're never seen again. That would be the most honorable thing they could do with this
I'm gonna
stuff.
go back in time a little bit.
Oh,
Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Darth Maul.
yes,
The best lightsaber duel ever anywhere.
absolutely, absolutely,
Anywhere.
hands down. It used to be I would say that the Return of the Jedi one when they're bouncing around while the Emperor's watching.
Yeah.
That had it for a long time, but once
Yeah.
that scene came around, I gotta agree with you. It was a phenomenal scene.
I can watch that over and over and over and over again
Oh, absolutely.
and not get tired of it.
It,
I mean,
it was
I am a
great.
Star Trek guy, but I know a lot about Star Wars. Mace Windu, I know he had to die in that movie, but not the way thrown out a window. And somebody said, "Well, they never was it Herb? They never found the body."
So that's a whole thing. All right. So
But I can watch that scene over and over and over again too. He is the traitor, and all that. That was just a good acting.
so this won't spoil anything. I'm going to give you one that a good buddy of mine from work said to me yesterday. And I'll finally answer your question. I'm a both. I really like them both.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why something that was said to me about Star Trek that really like keyed something off to me that I never knew. But one of the things that came out of the first two seasons here is I always thought that Boba Fett was a Mandalorian because that's what his father was. And I always considered him as his father. Never did I put together the idea that he was a clone. So really, Jango was never really his father. So in the terms of the Mandalorians, he wasn't born a Mandalorian. He wasn't really a Mandalorian. So in the grand scheme of it, he's not Mandalorian.
Okay.
And I'm like, that kind of comes out in one of the episodes, and I sat back and like I had to text my buddy right away. I was like, "This is bullshit. What do you mean he's not a Mandalorian?" I was like, "He's like, dude," and he kind of broke it down. I'm like, "This is still bullshit. He's a Mandalorian. He's Boba Fett. He's because I felt like for years that's what they always told us. You know, Boba Fett, the Mandalorian. He wears Mandalorian armor and all this other stuff." And I was like, but they explain it in one of the episodes because Jon Favreau, you know, Jon Favreau is right.
Yeah.
Jon Favreau has single-handedly saved Star Wars. Jon Favreau is the reason that we enjoy the good Marvel movies, not the garbage Marvel movies like Guardians of the Galaxy, which is garbage, and
hard to watch those.
And Thor Ragnarok is garbage.
Oh, wait a minute. I got a couple things to say.
All right, please.
I want to go back to where I started. When I asked you Star Trek or Star Wars.
Yes.
Because I started a theme there. The short story I wrote is very Star Trek-ish, but you can't write about that because you can't make money on it. It's called The Right Timing. It's a time travel movie, and is it the right timing? Yeah, it is the right timing. I had to look because it's in rewrite mode right now because I haven't released it yet. It's a time travel where a captain of a starship, it's a starship, will somehow, he ends up on his father's ship. They're the same age, and they're preventing something. He's preventing some event from happening that's going to change the timeline and all of that. And the father doesn't know about it because he's the original thing, but time travel has somehow infected got involved. My daughter did the artwork for it. See if I can get the light to not shine on it.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Now, did she do that on a computer, or did it go the other way?
Tablet.
Did she do that on a computer, or is that freehand?
Free on a tablet. Here, that'll probably be better. Right timing.
I like it. Well, if she has that kind of skills, she might be able to help me with my two different T-shirt ideas that we need to take care of.
T-shirt. Oh, all right.
Oh yeah, because we had. So I don't know if you heard last week's episode, but the gentleman we had, he was all about shaving, and he told us about how Gillette, basically created the idea of sensitive skin with adding blades to everything. We don't need them. We went through this whole thing, and he said, when you go like this after a good shave, go like this. You know what that's called?
No, it has a name.
Yep, faciation.
That's new. I learned something new today.
So he said, when you go like this, that's faciation. I said,
I waited a day to shave because this morning I looked, well, not quite like you, but I had white hair.
I saw that because you posted something.
I did a video. Yes,
I saw that.
Yeah, and but it was too. I can't. It's just.
You can't do it.
It itches too much. Drives me nuts. Can't do it.
So and my Star Trek piece to all this. Another good buddy of mine, Cliff. Now Cliff is about 6'5", big dude. Loves him some Star Trek.
Yeah.
And I was listening to one of his shows, and I never knew that all Star Trek, all the shows, all the books, everything is canon. They all tie into each other in one way or another.
Yeah,
they all fit with each other. So it's not like, well, this is a standalone. It's not really like it. Like when Disney took over Star Trek, or Star Wars, they basically said all the books aren't real. They never happened.
Well, then that was their big mistake.
Right. Where Star Trek, it was more like, no, that's legit. Like if it happened in a book, that's part of the storyline. And they reference it, which I just think is so impressive. And
I read one Star Trek book where it was Picard was on Cestus 3 with the Gorn, right before Kirk and Spock and that whole crew had landed, and it was a great book because it tied TNG with TOS, and I love things that do that. Of course, the Generations movie I thought was pretty good too.
I like the Generations movie. I like the Borg. Have you watched Lower Decks on CBS?
I started to. It looked too cartoony for me.
Oh, it's so great. It's so funny.
It might be an age thing with me.
It could be.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious.
Did you know? 10 years ago, 07, more than that, 13, 14 years ago, I was an avid gamer, Star Trek gamer. Star Trek Legacy was the game that we played a lot on PC. It was on Xbox, but the PC version, I had a team of people around the world, maybe 20 of us, all different skill sets. And it was called, the website's still up, chrisjonesgaming.com. We modified that game because it had the original voices of, William Shatner and Patrick Stewart, Avery Brooks, Kate Mulgrew, and some others. Scott Bakula, which he got screwed, by the way, by that network. Every time I see him on NCIS, it's like, why aren't you still the captain? Anyway.
He quantum leaped out of that body.
He did quantum leap out of that. That's another great show, actually. What was I going to say? We modified, the voices were all there, but the graphics on the 3D models in the ship sucked. They just didn't look like they should, we thought. And the sound effects were all screwed up. So I led a team of 20 people. We modified that game.
Wow.
To look exactly like the shows, all the ships and all the races, like the Breen and all of that. Everything was in there. All eras. All the ships out as they looked in the shows and movies. And we also took the sound effects from the shows and movies and put them into the game. So if you play this game and you fire a torpedo, it sounds just like it's coming out of Kirk's Enterprise original. And you fire the phasers, it's the exact sound, not some. And we also had access to the original Borg textures from First Contact.
What do you mean the Borg textures?
You know how the Borg looked on screen in First
Yeah.
Contact? Well, that was some kind of model. We have the original. We had the original files.
Oh, the computer
The way
files.
they looked, files, PDF, or I forget what they were. No,
Right, whatever it was, yeah.
files. And I didn't do it myself, but we had a lot of people on the team, and two people took it and modified that to work on a Borg cube in the game. So if you play our game and you take the Enterprise E up against the Borg cube, you are visually recreating First Contact. And
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, and it's the same exact visuals you saw in the movie we have in that game.
So now that's still out there. Somebody could find that and still play that.
Legacy, go to Ultimate Universe. It was called Ultimate Universe, the mod. UltimateUniverseMod.net, and you'll see some download links for the game. You have to install the game first. It doesn't work so well on Windows. It does work on mine, but it's hard to install. It was made for like XP or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a long time ago. But I had to tell that story.
Well, that's cool. Like, I mean, how many people can say they recreated or modified a video game, and it's still out there to this day? I mean,
thousands of downloads. It's we had some great people. I didn't have the skill set for a lot of that. I was pretty much the leader. I did a lot of the sound effects and did some coding in the background to change weapon strengths and all that. But we had some awesome 3D modeler people, some great multimedia people that created videos for the thing, for promos, and mission writers, guys that would do scripts and write missions. Original First Contact mission is in there. The Stargazer. I just saw that episode was just on BBC America. What was that TNG episode? Remember the Stargazer or the battle?
No.
Yeah. Anyway.
No, like I said, I enjoyed the show.
DS9, that's right.
Yeah, I like Deep Space Nine. I thought Deep Space Nine was really cool, and it was kind of a different concept because instead of them traveling to go figure out where everybody was, everybody kind of came to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that idea that it was more of a way station.
Oh, yeah, and they wasted a lot of starships in that series.
Oh yeah, because of the black. Well, they had the wormhole.
You remember the first one where they destroyed a Galaxy class? It was it's called the Jem'Hadar. That was the name of the episode.
You're way more into Star Trek than I was. Like,
okay,
you got my Star Trek way beat. I barely
have my Star Wars beat, so we're gonna go.
Yeah. We'll have to swap further stories on that one because my Star Trek is limited. Like I said, I enjoyed everything I've seen. I don't, it's not one of those shows where I'm like, this is garbage. It's not. I like the fact that everything ties in, and I liked it more once I found out that it all ties in together.
Some of the TNG people made it over to, like Worf, made it over to Deep Space Nine. And Starship battles were amazing.
Maybe I can get Ken. I should send Ken a link and just let him come on here because there you go.
Ken knows what I'm talking about.
Yes.
He saw that Jem'Hadar.
Yep.
It was on. See, BBC America airs this stuff all the time, and it's on Netflix. It was on like last week, and I'm like, shit. That was 1994. What happened that year?
I went to boot camp.
Oh, that's the year you started?
Yeah, I went to boot camp 1994.
Well, that was the year I think of the OJ and the Bronco too.
Yep.
That was a great Star Trek year because TNG had their finale with a two-parter, All Good Things, where they had this Enterprise with 3 nacelles and overpowered weaponry and all that. And then they had this episode, the Jem'Hadar, where a Galaxy-class ship got blown up by the Jem'Hadar just to prove a point, like Ken just said. And
who's Chief O'Brien?
Chief O'Brien is he was a transporter chief on Next Generation, and he ended up being engineer on Deep Space Nine.
I know the guy you're talking about. Yeah,
Irish.
Yep, and he had like him and his wife were there, and the wife gets pregnant during it all.
Yeah.
Yep.
They had a kid. Keiko was their wife's name.
Well, there you go. Monday through Friday, air reruns of Deep Space Nine and TNG.
Yeah, he knows what I'm talking about. It's on BBC. We had it on. We had it on earlier just tonight, and they were airing. Ken will know this one, the Battle of Maxia, where Picard's commanding the Stargazer, and Riker gets him in a tractor beam, and he can't do anything. So Ken knows. I'm sorry to.
No, look, this is me. You're in the right wheelhouse right now. I,
Wheelhouse. I love
I,
that.
you're absolutely in my wheelhouse of geekdom. I'm trying to figure out how I could send him this link here. I want to try to email it to him and see if he'll come on. Ken, send me a message if you want to come on. I'll send it over now. Do you want to know what my favorite space BBC show is though? And it's the best. There's no better BBC. So first off, the BBC does sci-fi better than we do over here. Cut and dry. I don't care what anybody says.
Even Star Trek.
Everything
Okay.
they do sci-fi to me is way better. Back to Doctor Who. Look at
Okay, Doctor.
all the spin-offs from Doctor Who, like not Treadstone. Oh God, I just had a brain for it. Because Mrs. Smith had her own show.
Yeah,
So
Sarah Jane Chronicles.
yes, the Sarah Jane Chronicles. Oh, he's putting kids to bed. Ken can't jump on. But you had the Sarah Jane Chronicles. You had I don't keep wanting to say Treadstone. And that's not it. It's the one with Captain Jack.
Oh,
Had his own. It begins with a T.
yeah. Why can't I think of it? And I know this.
I can't think of it either. Somebody send me the message. One of the three of you that's actually paying attention. Google it and tell me what it is because I can't think of it right now. But that
Torchwood.
Torchwood. Thank you. Did you ever see the Torchwood movie?
No.
Oh, the Torchwood movie is phenomenal.
What's it about? It's been way too long.
So the Torchwood movie actually came out on like HBO or something like that. They only played it on HBO, and it was about, again, as always, end of the world situation, but it was kind of each of the characters. So the guy who was kind of like a butlery character, you finally realize that him and Jack have been involved with each other the entire time. The freckled girl and her husband, like it was phenomenal, and like they had bases set up. I loved it. It was so good.
Maybe I did.
The Torchwood movie is phenomenal. It's so
Torchwood
good.
Itself was good. Who was the British? They were all British, I guess.
No, there was one American. That was Captain Jack.
Captain Jack. That's what yeah. He was dead, but he was alive still.
Right. He had his body was trapped in a time loop, so that he would never actually die. No matter where he was at, his physical essence was always in a time loop. So he was stuck there. He could go do anything. You couldn't kill him because
I couldn't shag women. He said when I remember that one.
I love that show. I love that show. It's such a great show. But I think they do it. But my favorite, and if you've never seen it, you can. I think it's on Amazon Prime. Have you ever watched Red Dwarf?
No, but I've heard people recommend it to me.
Red Dwarf is the funniest show, and it stands up. It's still got the bad late 70s, early 80s BBC set designs where things kind of like they close the door and it just kind of shakes around, all that stuff. But I'm telling you, it is just the funniest, and it's so fitting for that late 70s, early 80s, like British dry humor. It's so good.
I've never. Some things I just miss and just go on. Not on purpose. I just don't get them.
Well, some of them have been so long since they were on. Yeah. That's like so I like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I think it's the movie I love. I think the movie's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I tried to start watching the series because the guy who runs my comic shop that I go to, JC, was like, "You got to watch it." He said, "The set design is horrible. Everything else is horrible." He said, "But the writing is right on point. It's phenomenal." Mm-hmm. So I started to watch it, and I liked the writing to it. But like you said, it was one of those ones where nobody else in the house was going to watch it with me. Nobody else was going to sit down and watch it. So unless I found time to kind of run away, which I didn't want to do, I was never going to get a chance to watch it. So I watched a couple episodes. I enjoyed it, and it was great. Like, again, it's that I get it completely when you're like, I don't have time to sit and watch these things. There's so much great TV out there.
There is. I have to ask you what your favorite Doctor Who episode was. Do you have one?
So mine is actually, and I don't remember the name of it. It's the one with the master with the drumming. Do you know the one I'm talking about? So,
Year.
The master takes over everyone's body.
Yeah, it's got the word year in it. Year.
Let's see if I can. I'll try to Google it.
But it was a two-parter, and
You're
it
right.
was good. It was excellent.
So that's my favorite one, is because I like the master, and I like when the master comes back as the woman.
Oh yeah,
because she's a phenomenal actress. She's in. She's currently on the new Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, that's on Netflix, which is nothing like the Kitty version. It's much darker because Archie Comics, which I don't know if you knew this, is actually out of Westchester, New York. That's where they're headquartered out of. They went probably, I guess now almost 10 years ago. They went real dark with some Archie stuff. It's Archie in the afterlife.
They shouldn't do that to Archie.
But it paid off for him because it got a real good following, but that same actress that plays the master when the master becomes a woman is the same actress in that show, and she's just so good.
Okay.
But that's my favorite one because I like the fact that the master was somebody. Anytime they have that character on there, because the master is somebody that is good enough to best the doctor at every move, and the only reason he ever loses, it almost feels like it's because he didn't want to win. Does that make sense? Like it's almost like, I'm going to beat you. You know I'm better, but now, okay, I'm going to stop.
The interesting master episode was with Capaldi when there were two of them. Did you see that one?
I don't know if I did, and I think I've seen all of it.
What was his name? What was the guy's name? The guy in the Tenet stuff. John.
The actor?
The actor. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'd have to look him up. I don't remember the guy's name.
The woman. I forget.
Oh no! I know the one you're talking about. When both the woman and both masters, the woman and the guy. Yes.
One changes to the other, so one's in the past, kind of, and they're coexisting. Which brings me to Day of the Doctor. What's the matter? You compensating?
Yes, where all the doctors are there.
Yeah.
Was that not a great scene though? They're all standing in the museum.
Fool for not doing that. Eccleston was just a dick for not doing that.
I don't know what the whole bad blood there with him and them is. It's probably online somewhere. I've just never looked it up.
No, but you're right. That was a pretty awesome episode, Day of the Doctor.
But
two TARDISes appearing at the same time. Go away now, all of you. This is my thing.
It's so great. I love it. And now, have you? You're talking about that because that's the same one with the museum scene, right? Is that the one? And at the end, who is it that walks away at the end? It's you said his name
here.
Yes. It's so great.
And Clara's like, no Fez here.
Oh, it's so great. And I always thought that Donna was going to become a doctor.
Yeah, they nixed that, and the
she had it. She was such a great actress too.
Yeah, I know.
Dr. Donna.
The whole thing with Donna, all of that was awesome. I kept watching them back to back to back when I was first starting to watch them, and I just couldn't wait. I would binge them. I binged Doctor Who back in like 10 years ago when I first started watching it.
Now, if you like that, I'll throw another one at you. Have you watched the BBC versions of Sherlock Holmes?
Not recently.
With Benedict Cumberbatch?
Yeah, they're good.
Oh, they're so good. Hour and a half each, though.
Was there some video, it was YouTube, where Benedict Cumberbatch walked into the TARDIS with Matt Smith?
Oh, I didn't see that. That would be so
video. I'd look that up. I mean, obviously it's scenes from something somewhere, I forget.
Right.
But it's edited to look perfect, which reminds me of the Star Trek versus Star Wars videos on YouTube. Some of those are good. And Darth Vader's talking to Picard, you know.
See, that's great. See, I love like those kind of things. I say I don't know how to do it. I haven't spent the time to learn it.
Darth Vader could obviously, just do that and crush the Enterprise. But okay, let's have a small debate. Star Wars goes the speed of light, right?
Okay.
Warp 1 in Star Trek. That's Warp 1.
Okay.
So all the Enterprise has got to do is warp 1.3 and they're gone.
Right.
So Enterprise says at the end of it, Darth Vader was about to do that and do something to the crew. And Picard says, let's get the hell out of here. Warp 8. Goodbye. You'll never see us again. You don't go fast enough. Star Trek wins. I'm sorry.
Well, that was a whole thing in and of itself, was the fact that, if you're really a Star Trek person,
yeah,
you realize that so much of their stuff is based on science.
It is.
So the idea of the whole warp was, and I just recently learned this, that I guess it's the idea is a science that there's a bubble around the ship itself, that's what allows it to push the speeds that it does, because it pushes, the ship itself isn't moving. So there's no friction. It's being pushed through.
Yeah.
It's something like, I'm going with how I remember it and how I understand it.
Don't get me wrong. I love a lot of Star Wars. I'm waiting for this. Isn't Ewan McGregor going to do an Obi-Wan thing?
So he's directing an Obi-Wan series.
And he was the one that he was one of the most enthusiastic people with lightsabers. He just loved doing all this, all that. And I love the guy. He's a great actor, and his enthusiasm for what he does is awesome. So.
Well, yeah, I enjoyed it. Well, Chris, we're going to get ready to wrap this up. So if people want to, but we just rolled straight through it, brother. We had a good time. We'll have to do this one again. We'll have to do some more episodes of the Bo Knows. See, and now we know the Bo knows how to tie ties. We know the Bo knows Star Trek. We know the Bo knows DC. Bo knows radio.
Bo knows radio.
Car sales.
Yeah.
And Radio Shack.
Radio Shack.
So we know what the Bo knows.
There's a company that screwed us. They're a technology company. And
they couldn't stick around.
What is going on with those guys? They had some bad managers down in Texas.
All right. So, Chris, what's some final thoughts for us? If somebody wanted to find you, where can they find you?
I have a website, chrisjonesmedia.com, that will tell you very much everything I do now, which includes the podcasting and the internet. I have an internet radio station, by the way. And in fact, Herb Cloutier did the graphic for it, which was cool. No, chrisjonesmedia.com. I'm on LinkedIn under Chris Jones Media, Facebook under the same thing, and my profile page, Chris Jones, and Instagram too under Chris Jones Media 1. It is there. So that's where I'm at. And my primary thing is I do social media ad production for businesses and voiceover work at the same time, plus audio books on occasion.
So there you go, folks. You can find Chris all over the place. As simple as that. Just look up Chris Jones Media. He's going to pop up. Look up Chris Jones. You'll find him. Great guy. Great conversation. Make sure you check out his stuff. As always, you can always find us, our Instagram. We fixed it. I got to fix this banner here. It's just at Above the Bar Podcast for our Instagram. Our Twitter is at Above the Bar 4. Email the Above the Bar Podcast at gmail.com. Whatever media source that you're listening to this on, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. That way I actually have a clue who's out there listening. I know there's at least 4 of you, maybe 5. Make sure you check this out. Also, I'll throw this up here. We now have our TeePublic shop. So if you're interested in getting any Above the Bar podcast gear, I'm waiting on the new shirt to come in. We now have the official Above the Bar podcast. Be sure to push your stool in shirt. So that'll be coming here soon. What can we say? Oh, you got a little bit of glare. Let's see. The Bo Knows podcast. We're just getting a glare there, Chris. We're trying to get that.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. It was a business card.
But make sure you look up Chris at Chris Jones. I got this contest still going. I haven't seen anybody do anything with it yet. But if you get one of our shirts off of TeePublic or one of our pieces of gear, take some pictures with it. Make sure you hashtag it with the Above the Bar podcast or Above the Bar or just Above the Bar podcast at either the or just the regular one. Whoever wins the contest, I'm going to send you some free swag out there, but make sure you go ahead and take some pictures. Chris, any final words of wisdom for us?
Just one thing. Live long and prosper.
There you go, folks. Be sure to push your stool in.
Yeah, do that.